Probably a good. Uh, all right, everybody. See you soon.
Righty.
Valmiki was from a long line of Brahmin. But rather than following the caste of Brahmin, Valmiki instead earned his way from a life of crime. He would often rob, sometimes kill and injure people as they travelled by on quite a busy road. And one day he stopped a bunch of monks and asked them for all their possessions. And the monks said, "We will gladly give them to you. You can have all that we have. But before you take our possessions, would you answer one question? Even though you say your family are being supported by your actions, are they willing to also take away your sins and share them?" So that afternoon, Valmiki went back to see his family and told them of the situation. Said, "Are you willing to share my sins?" And the family said, "No, we do not want you to rob and kill and injure. We do not want you to be living a life of crime. We love you. We need your support. But the sins are your own." So, of course, this made Valmiki think those who love him did not want him to live the way that he was. So he went to see other holy men and explained to them the situation. "Is there something you can give me that will turn me away from my life of crime, that I may then love and appreciate life?" And the holy men taught him to meditate and gave him a sacred mantra. And Valmiki started to meditate using the mantra and to find his stillness. Now, there was much resistance. He had many difficulties, but he did not change his course. Knowing so much depended upon it, he sat and meditated. And eventually, within a short period of time, he became very engrossed in the mantra and could sit longer and longer, enjoying the sound and the flow of the mantra as it played within his being. And soon stillness started to descend upon Valmiki. And he sat for longer and longer, totally engrossed in what he was doing. And soon clay started to cover his body. But still he sat engrossed in the mantra. And after a while his whole body was covered in clay. Yet he was not concerned about his body at all, only the mantra. An ant soon made a home in the clay. And wandered around the clay and over his body. But still he sat. The holy men travelled by his town once more, and seeing what had occurred, they broke the clay and set Valmiki free. After 1 year, he was enlightened. And Valmiki was so clear and still on all that he saw and felt that he wrote the Ramayana about the life of Rama. And this epic became one of the great teachings and stories of India. I will explain a little more about the story soon. But first, let us go to the healing list and work with those on the list, if I may have their names now, please.
Ariel, Teresa, Ed, and Kathleen, Graham and Wendy Beck, Tony and Teresa, Cynthia, Patricia, Yvonne, Maddie, Chantel, Len and Bev, Richard Gatfield, Alex McDougall, Kim and Lizzie, Rose Frazier, Howard, Michelle Clark, Mike Eskins, Samantha, Liz, and Carolyn or Caroline, Deanne Smith, Ross, Karen, Amanda, Alex, Lulu and Mosby, Natalia, Lord, Malata and Tim, Keyshawn, Cecil the Cat, Manny the Cat, Tracy, Eric, Stephen and Matthew, Marianne and Jody, Jill and Katie and Mitch, Stephanie and Jay, Lorna, Duncan, Courtney, Helen, and Rick. Thank you.
Valmiki indeed did write the Ramayana and was converted from a life of crime to a life of clarity. And he did use a mantra and meditated upon it. But how does this help you? You See, the life of crime being inferred, in essence, you could say, is illusion, working or living impurely. By following the illusion and not the truth. By being captivated by the physical world and not honoring and working with the spiritual. The times in your mind when you are pulled, distracted, or attracted away from what you know to be true and real and just. If you were given a sacred mantra, and if you were practicing an act of meditation with that mantra, then you need not do other things. You may, but you need not. The dedication, the time, the practice, and the attention, of course, is what is required. And as in that story, it was only 12 months. But Valmiki did have one or two benefits that you may not have. Being born into the right path and supported prior to his choice of living a life of crime. And then the focus and dedication to see the truth. Now, you may not be able to sit until clay forms on your body and ants take up home. But during your working day, whether you work or in your home life, you can still be focused and enjoy the connection of either the mantra, preferably, or attention to what you do. One of the key ways to connect to your partner or your friend is to give them full attention. To sit, to listen, to be with them, and to listen without thought, without judgment, without any planning, to fully listen to all their words, emotions that may arise, and be with them totally. And even if your mantra isn't there, or you have not been given a sacred mantra, you can be treating the other person as if they are God. And be fully focused on what they do, what they say. And in being focused on them, their needs, their emotions, their wants, their expression, then they will feel that you are truly with them. So if your partner is not in a good mood or is struggling with the stresses of life, there is no need for you to necessarily do anything for them other than to be there. It may trigger pain, it may trigger memory, but these should be let go of. Of course, it's easy to see that the partner will benefit greatly from your attention. But for you, you start to feel, see, and hear the connection of spirit that sits behind the body mind of the person in front of you. If you have a client that comes to see you and they express their difficulties and pain to you, often they hide what is really the cause or the fears that they have. But by being there a little more, these will come to the surface. And if you were practicing any type of spirit connection, then your attention must also be on spirit. And in having that link, then of course, spirit will do the work. So your attention opens up potential and possibility. And when there is an opening within you or your mind, then there is no self. The mind is still. So memory does not flow into the mind and the mouth. So to practice the type of mediumship that is being demonstrated to you now starts with concentration. As Valmiki found his enlightenment through concentration, you can find your spirit connection. If the mind is still and memory is not used, then that spirit connection would naturally mean there was a flow of information or knowledge or wisdom, of energy, if you prefer, through the veil to the physical world. So the act of healing, the act of connecting to the non-physical, which may then develop into mediumship or other things. It is not a gift, but rather a natural occurrence of the physical laws. If you are sufficiently open and ready and allowing, then other things are very much more possible. So then, as a consequence, meditation and mantra and concentration, of course, tied with initially effort and determination, which will become enjoyable, means that there is more light and love in the physical world very naturally, not as a gift, but just the natural order. So as this flow, this connection, this concentration starts to become visible, then quite naturally, the understanding of self, of spirit, of connectedness will come into the mind of that person that is sitting. So rather than treating it as a gift, it is just the right effort. With support, with guidance, with your own encouragement, and if necessary, encouragement from the physical world as well. And you can turn from your life of crime to your life of clarity. Your crime, of course, would be not seeing the world clearly. And if this was to be done, you do not do it for the benefit of yourself, but the family who did not want to share your sins will share your light. So your work is more than just for you. You are Valmiki. And although his example is extreme, your life is no different, just less extreme. So your mantra, if you have one, can be used for this benefit. But if you do not have a sacred mantra, then the person in front of you is God. And you can see them that way. How would you not end up with love in your heart? So there are many people that come to talk, and they often want to know, what is my purpose, my plan, my direction? What should I do? What should I not do? And if I was to say, sit still, follow your breath, I would not be surprised if they only practice for a day or two. And then come back for further instruction. Often in the Western world, there is the need to do. I must achieve. I must go from here to there. I must learn a skill. I must read more books. I must donate my time. I must pray. And they see then that meditation is a practice to become a meditator. And that would be an error. You do not meditate to become a meditator, but you meditate to become free. The difference being is one who wishes to become a meditator is just gaining another identity, another label, another box, more conformity and order, more labels that they put on their self like badges on their chest. And they proudly say, I have meditated 1 hour, or I've meditated 10 hours, or 100, or I have sat for 4 hours. And their identity then is false. Do not sit for meditation to achieve a time, but to achieve your freedom through concentration on your practice. So the ideal person to visit, if you wish to say, let us say, seek a medium, or if you want to seek a therapist, the person you should pick is a medium that does not believe they are a medium. A therapist that does not believe they are a therapist. Let me explain. So if you saw a therapist and that person saw themselves as a therapist, then their value to themselves is how many clients they may have. And therefore, they wish to work with you, but never totally fix you, because then you would leave them. And their value of being a therapist then plummets when they have no or little clients. So it's in their interest to keep you in therapy rather than to fix you. It's far better to find an appropriate person that realizes between certain hours, I do the job as a therapist. And you come and do the job as a client. We dance the dance for 1 hour. But I know as the therapist that you are already healed and complete. You are just playing the role of injured for a short period of time. And I meet you in that dance for 1 hour. But then we can step away. So the meditator sits for freedom, for clarity, for enlightenment, if you wish. Not with the goal in mind, but the present moment right here. Not to become a meditator, as that, again, is a false identity. So you sit for the connection to spirit, for freedom, for liberation. And it may mean that you become a medium, and it may not. So the medium is distraught should that connection ever disappear. But one seeking liberation does not hold on to the word medium, and becomes the spirit. So your path is one of shedding skin, not acquiring new skins. By seeking clarity, not gaining more tools. Your path is love. It may be expressed through healing, but your path is love. So your relationship with your concentration opens the veil. It lets go of all those clothes and labels and acquisition, and then you pass into my world as naked as you were born. And all the falseness is left in the physical. You see, the process I explained as death, letting go of all that you are not, is the process of meditation. Letting go of what you are not is the way you serve another. Letting go of what you are not is the way you listen to the other person. You will turn from a life of darkness to light. And people say that is a wonder, that is a miracle, that there is life after death. That there is truth below illusion. That there is love underneath pain. It is no miracle. It is no gift. It's just natural. How can it be anything other than natural for you to be a spirit? Is that a gift? Are you waiting in a queue somewhere to hopefully win the lottery and become a spirit? Yet you live your life as if that was true. One day I will achieve. One day you will let go. And then you achieve. So the letting go is no more than right effort in the right way, with the right person who does not think they are your therapist, but knows the truth of connection themselves. So the way of the bodhisattva is the one that knows all is well, yet there is pain. The bleeding heart of Christ knows that there is spirit, and yet there is endless pain and suffering. Is that not no different to saying you are in the world, but not of it? And is it also not connected to love thy neighbor as thyself? So if you find yourself in a setting or organization where they are building a box of greatness rather than setting you free, I suggest that is not the right place for you to be until you realize that you are in the organization, but not of it. So a few weeks ago, I said, it's a wonderful gift to be born into a family of yogis, or to be born into a religious family. But it is not good to die there. Meaning Valmiki got his start, aided because of that connection to family. But he did not get lost in the Dharma. He lost his way, but then found his truth. And as a result, wrote the epic Ramayana. Find your way by losing your way. And turn from a life of crime. Until next week, be present. 1 year, right effort, full concentration. God bless you all. Mm.